Deontay Wilder retains his WBC World Heavyweight title with a 12-round split decision draw with Tyson Fury. Let's talk about it. The scores were 115-111 for Wilder, 114-112 for Fury, and Phil Edwards, the British judge, had it 113-113, a draw. BT Sport, who were broadcasting the British version of this fight, had Tyson Fury winning, I think, by 4 or 5 rounds. And I'm led to believe by BT Sport that Showtime had it something similar, but I'm not sure. I didn't watch the Showtime stream. For those of you who did watch it on Showtime, please let me know what they scored it. I personally didn't score the fight round by round. I was just enjoying the action. And it turned out to be very much the type of fight that I expected and the type of fight that I predicted. In my prediction video, I said that it would be a relatively low volume fight where there wasn't too much action for the most part, but there would be moments of explosiveness. And the reason I always felt there'd be moments of explosiveness is because both guys have got a very strong will. Wilder's whole career has been built on explosiveness, so he had to show it at some stage. I expected Wilder to be patient, and he was. He waited and waited and waited and waited, and he did go for broke during those explosive moments, but then he'd go back to waiting. And while he was waiting, Tyson Fury was landing jabs, the odd combination here and there, moving around, and generally being the busier fighter and doing a pretty good job, especially considering how below par Tyson Fury is at this point compared to how he was against Klitschko. You know, you've got all these Wilder fanboys adamant that Fury is just the same as he was against Klitschko. I knew before the fight that Fury wasn't going to be as good as he was against Klitschko. And I knew within seconds of the opening bell that that is not the same man who fought Klitschko. Wasn't as fast, wasn't as sharp. But be that as it may, given the fact that he was well below his best, Tyson Fury, he still gave Deontay Wilder all he could handle. And in the eyes of most people, he won the fight despite the fact he got dropped twice. But like I say, it was the kind of fight I expected, and I'm also not surprised by the result. I know a lot of people are going to be shocked and horrified and all this kind of stuff, but one of the reasons that I picked Deontay Wilder to win this fight on points is because I just couldn't see Tyson Fury boxing the way he boxed against Klitschko, and the judges going for that in the United States in Wilder's backyard. I just couldn't see it. Whether he deserved to win the fight or not, that's not the point. That's not the reason I said that. The reason I said it is because Wilder's got backing in this fight. A lot of investment has gone into him. So I just couldn't see Fury being able to box a low volume fight, jabbing and moving and stuff like that. I felt like to win, under these circumstances, Fury would really have to impose himself on Deontay Wilder. And when you impose yourself on somebody like Deontay Wilder, you're going to walk onto shots. So I felt like Fury probably wouldn't do that for the most part. And he didn't. He did it in spots. There were moments when Fury came forward and imposed himself. But for the most part, he liked to box on the back foot, moving around, the feints and all that kind of stuff. And he was having a lot of success doing that. But I just feel like politically, because boxing is full of politics, politically, I struggled to see in my head Fury winning a points decision as being the most probable outcome. Unless he really just dropped Wilder a few times and laid into him. Fight going to the cards and Wilder retaining his belt is what I felt was most likely, and that's what happened. Now, let's talk about the success that Wilder had. Wilder was far too right-hand happy, and he always is, but he wasn't sophisticated enough in setting the right hand up. He was throwing a right-hand left hook combination continuously all the way through the fight, and it kept missing and missing and missing and missing. But another thing I said in my prediction video is that the longer it goes, the more dangerous Wilder's going to be. And that also came to pass. In was it the 8th or 9th round? I think it was the 9th round, wasn't it? Where Fury got dropped for the first time. And certainly in the 12th round, we'll get onto that. But the shots that dropped him in the 12th round was the same combination that Wilder had been throwing the whole fight. The combination which had been missing earlier on eventually landed in the 12th, and you saw the effect that it had. So Wilder's, he gets an A for persistence, but I always felt he'd become more dangerous the longer the fight went on, because Fury would slow up a bit as the fight wears on, and that's when Deontay Wilder's big shots are going to start to land. And Wilder's always been patient. He doesn't mind losing rounds and waiting for the opportunity to land his big punches. That's just what he does. So yeah, it was very much the fight I expected. The fans in the UK were obviously furious. I don't know how the fans feel in the US about the result. Tyson Fury was very jovial. He was very happy after the fight and said, look, I love Deontay Wilder and this, that, and the other. And maybe we can do a rematch. Fury just seemed happy to be there. He seemed happy to have gotten over the obstacles that he's gotten over in his life and in his boxing career. And it was a massive achievement. Even though he doesn't officially get the W, it was a massive achievement just to be able to get in there and be so competitive and win in the eyes of certainly most British fans and certainly BT Sport, and apparently in the eyes of Showtime too, Wilder's own network. And that's really going to put pressure on Deontay Wilder. If his own network had him losing this fight, that's really going to put pressure on him to take that rematch at some stage. Although Fury and his trainer Ben Davison didn't seem in any rush for the rematch right now. I guess they don't want to think about it now because they've been through a hell of a lot, training camps and all kinds of stuff. They're just thinking about resting, enjoying the Christmas and stuff like that. But finally, let's talk about the 12th round, because the knockdown in the 9th round was a couple of shots that caught Fury just on the top of the head. The commentary team said they were on the back of the head. They weren't really on the back of the head. They were borderline, but not properly, rabbit punches. They were kind of like on the top, on the side at the top of the head, getting close to the back, but not quite on the back. So I think they probably were legal punches. All right. But be that as it may, they were not shots that seriously hurt Tyson Fury. They stunned him and dropped him. And again, by the 9th, he was slowing down a little bit. So his shoulder roll and all that kind of stuff, which was making Wilder miss so easily earlier on, was getting a bit slower. Wilder cornered him and caught him with a couple shots. I think it was a right hand followed up by a left hook, and Fury went down. Again, not seriously hurt, got back up and he was fine. And he actually pushed Wilder back later on in the round. But in the 12th round, I didn't think much was going to happen in the 12th. I felt like it would be a fairly pedestrian round. To me, Wilder looked gassed. And people wonder about why Wilder was so tired, and I've never seen him that tired before. But the reason Wilder was so tired is because he'd been missing all night. And he hadn't been missing with pity-patty punches. Fury had been making him miss enormous haymakers. Wilder was trying to take Fury's head off with virtually every swing, and he was doing that for 12 rounds. It's going to take it out of you no matter how good a shape you're in. Wilder literally threw pretty much non-stop power punches. He did throw jabs, Wilder, and he landed a few nice jabs throughout the fight, landed a couple decent left hooks. He should have used his left hook more, actually, Deontay Wilder. Should have used it more. He also abandoned his body attack. Early in the fight, Wilder was stabbing to the body. He was throwing right hands to the body, and I think that was a good tactic for him to take away Tyson Fury's movement. But towards the middle of the fight, he actually abandoned the body work, and I think that was a mistake from a tactical point of view. If you're in there with a guy who is superior to you in terms of boxing skills and technically, and he's moving a lot, and you're trying to land a big shot, you want to take that movement away. Hit him to the body and be consistent with it. Don't forget about it. And in terms of Deontay Wilder's right hand, if he'd been shooting the right hand to the body as well, even to the arms, the shoulder, that would have prevented Tyson Fury from using his left arm as much to block, because it would have hurt his arm if he's getting cracked in the arm constantly. And at the same time, it could have distracted Tyson Fury. If you're hitting him in the body with the right hand, it can distract him and make him think, okay, a body shot is coming, feint to the body and then go over the top with the right hand to the head. But maybe Wilder's just not that sophisticated. Maybe he's just not that sophisticated to be doing stuff like that. But yeah, like I say, 12th round came. The same right hand, left hook combination, which had been missing all night because of Tyson Fury's very good defensive skills, eventually landed. And down went Tyson Fury like he'd been shot. And I thought the fight was over. I think most people did. Tyson Fury looked out cold. How that man woke back up in a space of about 5-6 seconds and got himself to his feet. And he wasn't out of it like Amir Khan when he got up either. He wasn't stumbling around. He was hurt, don't get it twisted. But Wilder was actually too tired to follow up. Seriously, he did try to follow up, but the follow-up didn't last long because he was just too tired. And because of that, he let Tyson Fury off the hook. And Fury actually came back at him. Fury actually had more juice, more gas in the tank in the 12th than Wilder did. But yeah, kudos to Fury for getting up from that shot because that was a tremendous punch. 2 punches. The right hand landed and the left hook just absolutely stretched him out. You'd think the man was dead the way he went down. It was crazy to see him get up from that. And in fact, the BT Sport broadcast showed a slow motion of Wilder's face during the knockdown. And you see Wilder's facial expression change because when Fury went down, Wilder thought he'd knocked him out. He thought he'd spilked him. He thought the fight was over. He thought, I've done it again. I've done it again. I pulled it out of the bag late. And he was celebrating and doing his little shuffle and smiling, to the crowd and stuff like that. But then he looked over and saw Tyson Fury getting up and his facial expression changed. And he was like, what the He couldn't believe it. Wilder was actually horrified seeing Tyson Fury climb off the canvas like that. And look, I've seen several fighters over the years get back up from knockdowns which looked like they knocked them out cold. I have seen that before, but I haven't seen it happen too many times in the 12th when you're tired and a guy goes down as if he's been knocked unconscious, but miraculously gets back up like an act of God. It was crazy. It was crazy. I'd have to really go back into the memory bank to think of anything even remotely close to that. When a guy gets up from a shot like that in the 12th. I mean, I remember Razor Ruddock getting dropped very heavily by Tommy Morrison with a left hook, and it looked like Razor Ruddock was out cold. But somehow he got up miraculously and bizarrely. That's the closest I can think to it now. Like I said, I have to go through the memory banks to try and think of anything remotely close to this happening in the 12th round before. But an absolutely extraordinary feat of courage and resilience and powers of recovery from Tyson Fury. Absolutely extraordinary. And that's testament to the spirit of the man. Tyson Fury is a special character, like his dad said. He is a special person because most people can't summon that kind of spirit in a situation like that when they're totally out of it. Tyson Fury was literally unconscious for a couple seconds there. His body was even twitching on the canvas. That was crazy. And to get back up, recover the way that he did, and actually be putting the pressure on Wilder later on in the round, madness. Now, it then went to the scorecards. What can I say? I didn't score the fight myself. The feeling I had was that Tyson Fury was the ring general. That's the feeling I had, particularly going into the second half of the fight. Tyson Fury was really getting into his box. I thought early on, Fury looked a little jittery to me in the first couple rounds. It was nip and tuck in the first couple rounds. But from the mid rounds on, I felt like Fury was really getting into his flow. His confidence was there. He was starting to put combinations together. And yeah, he looked like the ring general, definitely. But as I said, all the way through the fight, I was still saying, are the judges going to give it to him? boxing like this. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I'm just saying, given the politics involved, are they going to give him the fight when he's boxing like this? And with those knockdowns, at the end of the fight, I was saying either Wilder's going to retain his title or this is going to be a draw. That's what I was straight after the fight. I was saying that Wilder's going to win or it's going to be a draw. I'll be surprised if they give it to Fury. Yeah, because of the fact that Wilder has got so much investment in him. They're trying to build him up as an American champion. And any reason that they're going to have, any excuse, any bit of leeway, any gray area that exists, they're going to use that to try and allow him to keep the belt. If Fury wins the fight, there's not as much cause for a rematch. He's then in the UK. Will Wilder go to the UK? You know, the people in America at Showtime, etc., the money people behind Wilder, Al Heyman, they want to turn Wilder into the American version of a Fury or a Joshua. They want him to have a big following. So to ensure that, they needed him to keep that belt. So it was going to be very difficult. I always felt like it was going to be very difficult for Fury to take that belt off him, you know, because of the politics involved. He would literally have to either knock Wilder out or batter him to the point where there's no gray areas. And the fact that he got dropped twice, I just felt, nah, they're not going to give it to Tyson Fury. And the fact that there were some close rounds, particularly early in the fight, there were rounds. I know the BT Sport commentators were very pro Fury, and it was a little jarring at times in the early rounds how pro Fury they were in terms of not scoring the rounds objectively. I'm not saying Deontay Wilder won the fight. What I'm saying is the early rounds, there was gray areas in those early rounds. It wasn't clear cut in those first couple rounds. And when you add that, those early rounds when it's debatable, you know, when you could at least make a case for Wilder winning some of the early rounds, those are going to go to Wilder. Yeah, those are going to go to him. Any gray area is going to go in Wilder's favor. As the champion for one, and for two, fighting in his backyard with all this backing from the money men in America now, those were going to go to Wilder, you know. So that's why he won the fight. You know, I'd have to go back and watch it again to score it and give you guys my scorecard. But the general consensus is Tyson Fury won the fight, and that Deontay Wilder was very fortunate even to get a draw. That's how most people feel. Lennox Lewis certainly felt that way, the BT Sport people, and apparently the Showtime people. I would like to try and get hold of a Showtime version of this fight to see what they were saying and how they were scoring it and how they saw it. I'll be interested to see it from their perspective. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. How did you score it? Was it a fight that you expected? Did you expect more from Wilder? Did you expect more from Fury? And again, I have to reiterate, we have to be real here, people. This was not the Tyson Fury who fought Klitschko. Nowhere near. Not even remotely close. This was probably Fury at 60%, 70% at best. Nowhere near the man who fought Klitschko. If that had been the Fury who fought Klitschko in there, I don't think he would have even got dropped. If that had been the man who fought Klitschko in there, he would have won it. And I don't think they would have been able to take it from him. I mean, let's be real here. If Wilder hadn't been dropped, if Wilder hadn't dropped Fury, he would have lost the fight, even with these judges. It would have been too much of a stretch even for them to give it to him. So the knockdowns saved Wilder, even with the favorable judging. So if you add an extra 30% onto Tyson Fury, 30-40%, and make him the Fury that fought Klitschko, Wilder gets shut out. Yeah, he gets shut out. So anyway, let me know what you guys feel in the comments. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.